All right, welcome to this edition of Symphony AI's Workflow Cafe series. I am Jason Yeary, a senior solutions consultant with Symphony AI, and this edition will be focused on the service portal with generative AI. And joining us today is Phyllis Drucker, a 2023 HDI Lifetime Achievement Award recipient, who's a seasoned expert in service management and leadership with over 20 years of experience. Her specialties include business and IT strategy, enterprise service management, and customer support. Phyllis's book, Service Management Online, and her new class, Innovating the Service Portal, are a must. Welcome, Phyllis.
Thanks so much, Jason.
Phyllis, we were just at HDI, I think about a week ago. It's hard to believe that, but we had some great interaction there at HDI. Tell us a little bit about your experience with HDI this year and kind of what you're seeing, in the ITSM space.
Well, I think people still need the basics. My workshop was standing room only with people that want to know the basics of getting the service catalog and service portal going, but they're also very AI curious. I attended a few sessions in AI and they really were packed. I don't know about some of the other sessions at the show, but you had to get into an AI session early so that people could learn, what does the future hold for them.
Yeah, AI has been a buzzword for many, many years, but it seems like it's really, really taken hold over the past 6 months or so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Phyllis, what are some processes that kind of we've seemed to have managed to master over time, but what are some of those that we have, and then maybe some challenges that we're still grappling with, and why are we still grappling with those problems?
Sure. And I'll think about this from a support perspective, because clearly we've been working on incident management, problem management, and change for 20 years. And some of them have gotten better, some not so much. When we look at incident management, I think organizations have done a good job of getting solid incident management processes, and certainly at the service desk, end user communication processes, and they get it to a point where it's repeatable and everybody knows their role and what they're supposed to do. They often stop there. What I'm seeing is, they're challenged with, how do I use tools to take it to the next level? How can I automate this so I'm not doing it all the time? And, when I think about that, it's like level 2 could be using AI to document a resolution in human terms. Throw in some of the technical, what did I do, and then let it bump it up a little bit for you. And if they actually did that, then chatbots and level 1 would have the answers needed to get the user running, right there, right now. I also think that as you build that knowledge, a lot of issues wouldn't happen. People would resolve their own issues without waiting for a technician. So I think, there's a long way to go in how we can optimize request fulfillment with automation, incident management with automation, and certainly if I get out of support and into change management, we would know what changes would be safe to perform without having to get 20 people in a room.
Yep, good point. Now, Phyllis, you obviously teach a class on innovating the service portal. So when it comes to designing a service portal, we consider that to be the cornerstone of IT service management. It's the face of IT. It's what people see. So what's in your opinion, what are the key capabilities that organizations should prioritize when they're designing a service portal?
Well, a lot of the time, IT will design a service portal for the purpose of scaling IT support. So they want the ability for users to log tickets and ask for things online. They don't really think about what do I want to do with this service portal. So from a capability standpoint, what I look at is true self-service. And to me, self-service is not logging a ticket. That's logging a ticket in an online tool. True self-service is I need something done and it happens immediately. So a software store like an app store, or if I go outside of IT and I need a letter of recommendation, or not recommendation so much as a validation of my employment, that it can deliver it to the bank right away. I don't have to wait for someone in HR to do it. If I need access to something, as soon as it's approved, the access is automatically granted, not a system administrator sitting there typing, the group permissions and so forth. So that's true self-service and fulfillment automation. The other thing I think is, as we start to dive into the AI world, chat is always the thing that's on people's mind, but we also have great capabilities for personalization of information. So even if a chatbot is conversing with, somebody that needs support, and the chatbot knows who they are, where they work, what applications they use, what problems they already have called into the service desk on a regular basis, it can tailor the responses it gives them, prioritize the knowledge that's more likely going to solve that person's problem, so, as well as just personalizing that experience. The other thing, the capabilities I think people really need to look at are onboarding and access management, because those two, are probably the thing that people and managers hate the most about using the service portal is, how do I know what access they need?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You expect me to know everything.
Right. Yeah. We definitely see that, a lot. The onboarding, offboarding is a key component for, I think, a lot of organizations they struggle with. So simplifying that process would be great. So obviously this seems very simple, right? Like it's like service portal, everything's right there. We need to have it. We need to make it user friendly, all that. But why is it such a struggle? So like what's preventing companies from being able to succeed with their service portal?
I think it's a couple things. One is, if the initiative starts in IT views it as an IT portal. It doesn't view the portal as a place employees in the business can go for everything. And when I just did a fake portal design, a case study design,
Mm-hmm.
and I have the common applications links to them in the portal. So, all the SaaS application are links from the portal. And the other thing is, I don't organize a portal by department. I organize it more by function. So I think when you start with IT looking at a portal, they then organize it with networking and server support and desktop and
Mm-hmm.
equipment and equipment, accessories, software. People don't think like that.
Yep.
So they also, if you start with IT only, that means HR is going to put a self-service tool out there, and facilities
Mm-hmm.
is going to put a self-service tool out there. And before you know it, you have what I call portal sprawl. You've got
Yeah.
portals all over the place, and your average end user or employee has no clue where to go to get anything. So I really
Mm-hmm.
view portals as an enterprise portal organized by business function. If I'm an employee, there are some employee services I might need, and they may include things from HR, legal, the mailroom, as well as IT. If I'm
Yep.
a manager, there's things I do as a manager that I might need. And then I might need technical support. So I might go to a place for technical support. So they really need to cross those boundaries. My favorite question is, what is onboarding? If you have
Mm-hmm.
HR and IT and facilities in a portal, where do I go?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if I want to onboard someone, I probably start in HR. But if I think I've already hired them and I need to get stuff for them, I might want to start in IT. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know the right place to start. So I think the silo-based taxonomy is really, really challenging. And I think when we look at IT portals, they look like something IT built.
Yep.
They're not attractive. They're not personalized. They don't have a lot of graphics. They don't have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of videos in the help files. They're very technical, very dry. So
Yep.
making it a place people want to go is the biggest thing in service
Yep.
portal design.
Yep. I love that thought. I think of it, obviously I ran a service desk for a hospital for about 10 years. And I always like think you have to put yourself in their shoes. Like what are they going to see? So something that makes sense to you within IT or you within HR or facilities, it doesn't always make sense to them. It doesn't always make sense to the person that you're trying to assist. So if you can put yourself in their shoes, and it sounds like that's what you're saying is like design in a way that puts yourself in their shoes and it makes sense to them. You can worry about your stuff after that, but that front facing thing needs to be geared towards those users that you're trying to support.
Yeah, design for the humans. And that's really what I'm teaching people to do, right? It's like, get your vision, get your people together, find out
Hmm.
what they need, and then create your vision and design for them, not for you. Your stuff
Yeah.
is going to get taken care of. Don't worry
Hmm.
about it.
Yeah.
But you have to design for the end user, not for IT.
Yeah. So would you agree that having those users involved in the process would be a good idea then?
Yeah, when I do the roadmap of how are you going to design your portal, it starts with engaging users, and it's all different kinds of users. So you certainly want executives and approvers because
Hmm.
they're going to fund it. But you
Yeah.
also want the people that don't use the portal, the
Hmm.
people that are frequent flyers that use it all the time, and
Okay.
some of the support teams that are recipients of portal requests.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think if I recall correctly, our conversation at HDI, a lot of that centered around the fact that we don't have people using the portals, right? Because you just mentioned that people that don't use the portals, and it seems it's because it's taking that path of least resistance, right? Like it's easier for them to do something else, or it's more valuable to them to send an email or call, because the portal just hasn't really been designed for them. Would you agree with that?
Yes, and I would also say I'm not wedded to the fact that they must use the portal.
Okay.
If I
Yeah.
could put a chat bot in Teams or Slack or any corporate IM
Uh,
product, a support channel in there,
yeah.
and that person can talk back and forth to the bot, and the bot can log the request for them, and they don't ever have to go to the portal, that's fine. It's still self-service. It's still giving them access to knowledge and
Yeah.
everything they need. So I'm not wedded that they have to go to the portal. And the one thing that people will misconstrue is, well, I don't need a portal then. Well,
Hmm.
yeah, you do need a portal because the portal is the go-between between that chatbot and the ITSM tool. You need the
Yeah.
functionality that's in the portal, even if your users choose not to use the portal.
Yeah.
So that portal is important regardless.
Yeah. That's actually a great transition for us to, um, because of talking about chatbots. Obviously nowadays, like Gen AI is everywhere. Like, so it's not just chatbot is like maybe even chatbot's old news, right? Like because
Yeah,
Gen AI is now the new thing, and using those that generative AI like your Chat GPTs or your Google Geminis. So what do you see as the potential of using Gen AI in service portals, and extending Gen AI service portal use cases that could be maybe explored in the future?
I think that's where it's going to really start to take off, right? I've programmed the old school near natural language chatbots, and you've got
Okay.
to program every possible variation of how a conversation may go. And people just don't have the time for that. They're not going to really invest the effort. But with Gen AI, whether it's a chat bot using Gen AI or a Teams channel that uses Gen I think the ability is going to take off. Um, I've been playing with Copilot and ChatGPT, and one of the things I like to do is ask it technical questions.
Hmm.
And every time I ask a technical question, I get all the right answers, all the step-by-step things you should do. So if you can make um, the Microsoft support information available and your own internal support information available, and have the chat go to that and use Gen AI to generate a response to the user, I think it starts to become far more powerful. I also
Yeah.
think you get that really personal conversation style. Uh,
Yeah.
we were playing, a group of were playing with ChatGPT, and you could tell it to use idioms.
Okay.
Now, it wrote something like I would never write, but
Yeah.
when it starts throwing out common terms like it's the best thing since sliced bread if you do XYZ, you can make it very conversational, and that's
Yeah.
going to improve adoption. People
Yeah.
will go back to a channel that talks to them like they are a human. The other
Yeah.
thing with chat, generative AI and chat, is it's so human-like that you can make it be like a human.
Hmm.
So give it a name, a first name and a
Yep.
last name. Joe Brown is your
Yep.
chat channel today. And when Joe runs out of answers, Joe can say, hey, would you like to speak to a level 2 technician or someone more experienced with this area, so that someone is never really aware that they're
Yeah.
using a bot. And I
Yeah.
think that really is the be all and end all. Um,
Yep.
the other piece of that is there's a lot of proactive work that Gen AI can use, really seeing there's a problem with a computer, fixing it for the person with automation and policies and routines. Uh, Also, I think people forget that you could also do a little bit of sentiment analysis after a call or a chat session.
Hmm.
What's the tone of the user during that chat session? Do I need to be concerned about them? So,
Yeah.
there's all kinds of ways. The personalization we've talked about, that sentiment analysis after the fact, or on tickets that are sitting in queue. Being able
Yep.
to use Gen AI to look for tickets that haven't moved or that are being reassigned multiple times and get them back on track. So there's so much.
Yep.
Wind me up, I could go for days.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you've alluded to a few of these already, but what are some like maybe things that we should be testing with generative AI? So some specific like maybe service portal or just use cases for Gen AI that we should test, and how are they going to help us as we move forward to better our service portal?
Yeah, certainly when you're in IM and your corporate IM and people are asking for something, Gen AI could ask all the relevant questions. So it makes it very easy to submit a service request on their behalf. But we can also take it into the portal, kind of like the Amazon experience. If I've ordered a laptop, being able to ask, hey, did you also need a monitor or have you already got one?
Yeah.
Do you need a stand for the monitor? Do you need a case? What software do you need with this laptop? Have you ordered everything that you need? Is it going to be the same as your current machine? So you start to be able to pop up windows by predicting what that person might want. But if you have better asset management, you could also say, hey, I see you have a monitor and it's 3 years old. Is it time to consider a new one?
Yep.
So you really can get that personalization and knowledge of the user's experience out there up front, whether it's through the chat channel or portal. So that's one I would be testing. The other
Yep.
one that I'm really big on, and I've been doing a lot of writing in this area as well, is automating support. So using Gen AI to go out and look at we collect a phenomenal amount of data, right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
getting it to go out and look at things in monitoring tools and define whether a PC is healthy
Yeah.
or a laptop is healthy. Is a device healthy? And upgrading software and drivers if it's not healthy, and then
Yeah.
having a tech look at it if it's not something that can be done with automation. So I think people should start testing that. And I also think they should start testing some of the automation use cases. Now, I'm going to say they really need to start with onboarding and identity access
Yeah.
management so we get access out of there. But I think I
Hmm.
also mentioned earlier that, hey, we could be automating software delivery, access
Yeah.
fulfillment, and things
Hmm.
like that.
Yeah.
Folder access,
Yeah. Right.
they bring a box or
Yeah.
Dropbox experience to your
Yeah.
internal organization.
Yeah. I'm a huge proponent of that. Like is automation. Like anytime you can automate a process, why wouldn't you take that? You can take that human error out of it. You can save your technicians or analysts like their time. Like there's just
Yeah.
even if it's like it takes a minute, like that's an extra minute for however many of those things are. you multiply that over and over. I mean, your ROI on that is just, huge. So, huge proponent of automation. So,
And then, experience is the other one. If I know my users, if I'm in a hybrid work environment, or I have a large group of people that travel from location to location to location, how awesome would it be? I have to have props to pick up your phone, go to the portal, and see where you could go work today, or
yeah.
see where the nearest conference room is, or find out what printers are available that you could map to. So all the resources that you might need going into that building are right at your fingertips in the portal through generative AI and personalization.
Yeah. Yep. I love it. So what tips do you have for service desk leaders if they're trying to make a case for everything we've talked about with the improvement and generative AI? What are some tips that you might have for those leaders to make that case?
Well, you need the business case, right? Especially if you're going to need tools or newer tools to be able to deliver on it, right? So I would start with the things that deliver savings. So the automation and proactive work that can be done using Gen AI, using your tools, the end user experience, how we can improve that end user experience, because everybody has had a bad IT experience at some point in their life, and they could relate to that. But the one that I think is really going to drive the money, and they all stood up and clapped when I said this in the workshop back at HDI. If you made a case for doing automated onboarding and identity access management, integrating it with your HR tool so that you can make the manager and new hires experience that much better, and so that you can secure your enterprise. So I think when you start combining the fear of breach and you say, hey, the number one breach is going to be people with incorrect access or people who have left and still have access. So you take that entire employee life cycle with the workflow, in your tool, using generative AI wherever it suits, and then combining it with identity access management tools, also fully integrated, so that anytime a manager requests a change of employee status, everything follows suit. The access they no longer need is taken away. Access that they need new for their job is given. And the day they leave, everything is taken away. So I think if you start with those initiatives, you start to see a huge return on investment as well as protection of the enterprise. Generative AI and device health is also a big security ticker. So I could check that box. If I'm keeping virus signatures and patch management and security vulnerability management fully automated using AI, now I've closed the other gap. So now I've closed your person gap and your device gap, and you could use that to create the business case to fund this whole thing.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So I have one for you.
All right.
I've spoken a lot about generative AI and service portals, but what has SymphonyAI been building in terms of your capabilities in this arena?
Yeah, that's so we've been really focused on generative AI. Obviously, SymphonyAI is an AI-based SaaS, solution company. We are building AI co-pilots for industry specific. So for the enterprise workflow division, which is the division that I'm a part of, we just released our enterprise co-pilot at HDI. So we announced that at HDI last week. So we're using the large language model, OpenAI large language model, but it's been purpose built for the service management workflows. It can work with your ITSM platforms out there and provide that generative AI response to any inquiries. So not just looking at your service management service requests or your incidents and looking through your knowledge base, but also being able to tie that in with other tools that you use. You're, tying into your HR, or tying into your facilities teams, looking at your SharePoint site, or using your employee handbook. All of that stuff can be fed in. We also like to keep your data secure, so we make this a tenant-based approach. So that Copilot is learning from your data, but it's only in your environment, so you're not feeding that out to the large language model as a whole. So that's a big component for us. Um, and we're just able to leverage that for all of those processes. So end user processes, as you mentioned, we can put that on a portal where the user's being able to ask questions about maybe their insurance, or they have an issue with something and getting a response on like their Outlook's not working and what can they do to fix it. And not just giving them the technical, right? So you talked about that. Like it can be human, right? We can
Yeah.
give them the response, but we don't have to be super technical about it. We can give them a response, like step-by-step instructions, but also give them a link to the technical documentation so that they can view that full technical documentation. Walk them through submitting a service request for shared folder access, and then tying that in with our service automation engine, which can automate that process for them as well. So that way, instead of you submitting a request for shared folder access and it takes 2 days for you to get that access because we're going to hunt down the person that needs to approve this and then going and actually providing the access, it can be automated within minutes. And then allowing analysts to use that to find out like maybe trends that are going on right now. So maybe they need to find out if there's any trends. They seem like they've seen a lot of Outlook issues lately. Well, what's causing that, and how many tickets have we actually seen in the past like 30 days? And and what can I do to fix this? What are my next steps? You mentioned sentiment analysis. That's something we can do with that Copilot, where we can analyze a ticket. We can summarize that ticket and actually say, well, this user is not in a good mood. They've had an issue for a very long time and it hasn't been solved yet. And, so you're getting that up front so you know what you're walking into. And even next steps, like, hey, we've done this in the past, so here's some next steps that maybe you should try. And all of that's built within the Copilot and integrated into the SymphonyAI platform as well. So fully integrated there for your end users as well as your analysts, and it's only going to get better and better as we move that along. Generative AI, as we have mentioned during this entire call, it's the future. We see it. We know it's here now, and it's going to continue to grow. So we're trying to be at the forefront of that. So.
And I love that you built it on Copilot, because as I was at the show talking to people, and even in my class, people don't want to use ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to use anything that's going to go outside their four walls, and they won't adopt AI if we tell them this is what you have to do. So
Yep.
having the on-premise and the secure solution is going to be what it takes to get people to go there.
Yeah.
That's a big piece of it. And getting the automation in there, it's perfect, because when I do classes and I do webinars and things, people say to me, but how do I do that? You can't do that. We don't have the tools to do that. And it's just great to hear you detailing that, yes, we have the tools that do this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's most of my conversation with people is, half of you already have these tools. You don't even need to invest. You're just not using everything that's there to be used.
Yeah.
So, really making that case for use everything you have, and then go buy what you can achieve, rather than just throwing everything out and starting fresh.
Yep. Agreed. Well, Phyllis, we're going to wrap up here. So just to finish off, just want to look back at everything we've talked about today. Obviously you got professionals out there. They're just starting out, and they want to go through this journey of improving. So what are some things that they should focus on primarily to improve on their service portal in general, and then moving forward into that Gen AI space as well?
Well, aside from plugging my book in class, which you already did a great job in, I would plug another book by Katrina McDermott, who talks about humanizing IT service management. And I think what people really can learn more about is how they humanize IT in design and the digital design techniques like digital blueprinting, journey mapping, and value stream mapping. Because when you want to really improve that portal and you have all those users in the room, you really want to find out from them. What does your current onboarding process look like? What does it take you to onboard an employee? What steps do you need to do? And for the candidate, what steps do you need to do? Is it frustrating? Which pieces are frustrating? And using those digital design tools to pull it all together into a fresh design is something that I think is going to be a big skill set people are going to need going forward. And then the other is what you said, way early, and we jumped on it and discussed it. The fact that IT can't build a portal. Let's just be real about this. IT can't build a portal. IT needs the other departments that you want to engage in your, that you want to represent in your portal. You need the end users, you need the approvers, you need the fulfillers. You need the people to give you the feedback to do that human-centered design. So trying to build it in a vacuum is never going to work. So I think if IT folks just focused on those two things, building their community and building their digital design skills, that would be a great start.
Awesome. Where can people find out more about your book, your class, you in general? Do you have like a website? You wanna plug here?
I do. It's very easy. It's www.easytobegreat.com. So that's spelled out easy, and then the number 2, letter B, gr8.com.
Okay. EasyToBeGreat.com. That's awesome, Phyllis. Really appreciate your time with us today for our Workflow Cafe. Please check out Phyllis's book, her class. It's a phenomenal class, obviously standing room only at HDI. And if you want more information about SymphonyAI, you can check out our website at www.symphonyai.com. Feel free to drop us a line. Really appreciate everyone joining us for the webinar. And thank you so much, Phyllis, for your time.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.